Hi everyone, this is Maya of Shining Bull Astrology, and I'm just going to answer one Patreon's question here. So on my Patreon, up until this very recently, I was doing these divine portfolios. Now I've shifted that to, I'm going to be putting my deep research notes up on the Patreon as I go along, which are kind of feeding into my forthcoming NFT book 11, which I have been putting off for a long time because I've been doing so much work for my people. But the point is that, yeah, I've shifted that. So that deep research that I'm going to be putting on the Patreon is like more for the much longer term to try and divine where the industry is going, and so that to make us money, but more on the longer term, since we're entering into kind of a new kind of moment where a lot of building is going to be happening now. But anyway, this Patreon therefore was asking about a divine portfolio that I had put up that was and is a portfolio for coins that I saw could do well because of Ketu's shift into Libra. And this Patreon wanted to know if that was still valid. And so, sorry, I was just drying my clothes. I know I need to get better at these videos. I will. There will be a day where you watch my videos and they're going to be super professional. That is not the day. Now is not the time, but I will. I promise you one day you won't even, it will be night and day. It will be like, anyway, but today I was just doing my laundry while recording this. So, anyway. So first of all, that portfolio was for what I saw and what I see is that while Ketu is in Libra, a lot of there's going to be a very interesting focus on payment and crypto payments. And also, it's not just limited to cryptocurrency. I also saw it in some stocks that are dealing in kind of diversifying regarding payment. And they're seeing payment in a new way. I'll mention those stocks too, although, usually this is just for my Patreons. But since my Patreon asked this question, I figure I'll just make this video, but then reference those portfolios so you know what I'm talking about. So the crypto, and I also just double checked also for this Patreon. So the crypto portfolio that I had mentioned was, I believe, like Request token, Divi token, a Binance coin, and then Dodge and Shiba Inu, as some of you will not believe that I'm saying this but yes, actually for payment, definitely. And then I would like to actually add Litecoin to this list, actually. So yes, I do see that while Ketu is in Libra, those coins can do well. And if you want to play safe, you could just do, I'm not a financial advisor, but if I wanted to play safe, maybe I would just do Binance coin and Litecoin, but Request and Divi are also interesting. There's probably more of these interesting kind of payment coins, although I remember looking in depth for that portfolio, and that was the list that I came out with that I wanted to share. So and then, as I said, it's not limited to coins, because I also saw, for example, I made a portfolio about stocks, and in that portfolio I had backed like the BAKKT and Visa and AMC amongst my stocks. And those were because, besides their charts, obviously, that was because I noticed that those were in sync with this fact of Ketu being in Libra, and this thing that's going to be happening with the focus being on payments and payments. And kind of like, basically the point is, so Ketu kind of like makes multiplicity in things, and also makes things kind of very wacky. So and Libra, as many of you will know, is the sign of the marketplace. So I'm seeing, and also naturally because of what conversations that have been happening in the industry, naturally, anyway, I'm seeing that will definitely be a focus. Okay, and if you're a researcher, like a crypto economist, that's not, you would maybe already know that, like, from your own methods, but that's what I see as an astrologer. And then was there something else I wanted to tell you? I feel like there was, and now I don't. Oh, yeah, this Patreon made a very interesting comment, because they said, what is more kind of compelling, the placement of Ketu and Rahu, or the placement of Saturn, right? Because maybe because okay. How to answer this is that, you cannot just make the prediction based on the nodes, because the nodes are just shadows and mathematical points. I shouldn't say just, because they're very powerful, but the point is that they're not physical grahas, they are something else. And so I would never just predict just with them, but the point is on the other hand, you do have to be frank and notice that they really do influence the market a lot, and you can't deny their power, of course, and their influence. Okay, but the thing about this is actually Saturn, is aspecting Libra, both when Saturn is in Aquarius in trine to Libra, and when Saturn is going to be retrograding back into Capricorn. Saturn is going to be aspecting Libra, where Ketu is, and that is one reason why I saw this as not only that, actually, in my book 11 research that I'm doing, because when Jupiter enters into Aries further along, this is a little bit more long term, Saturn is in Aquarius, and then both of them are aspecting Libra. So that's another reason why I saw that this payments thing is something that's going to be building. Also because of the nakshatra that they're aspecting, or closely, I think that area and the sign that they're aspecting at the same time. So my answer to your question, a very good question, is like that it's all important, and I would say, but Saturn, Saturn is immensely powerful, and so what I would say is that Saturn is the one that sets the tone of how we are managing our economies. Especially because Saturn, Saturn is exalted in Libra, of the marketplace. Saturn is the lord of Aquarius, which is a sign of society, and the lord of Capricorn, the natural 10th house. So Saturn is undeniably immensely important. And then what happens is, if you're looking at the nodes, that is going to show us people's inclinations, what people are going to get fascinated by, either in the sense, sorry that this is going longer than I thought, but this is such a good question this person asked. So like, for example, in the case of Rahu will definitely give a sense of where people's mind will be, like what they're going to be really into. For example, when Rahu was recently, just the last sign Rahu transited was Taurus. And interestingly enough, world events happened that did keep us at home, but a lot of us became very, very interested in building personal wealth and also personal comfort. And that's why, just totally out of the, like, this is totally another thing, but personally, I have looked into Instacart and their IPO. Instacart is a company, I think it's based in, I know it's here in Canada where I live now, and I know it's in the US also, but like, for example, Instacart so when Rahu was in Taurus, we became interested in more interested in upping the degree of our personal comfort, of our personal luxury, and little things like the delivery, or right, home deliveries, ways that the economy kind of adjusted itself to play into that desire that we had, obviously, and that did go hand in hand with the fact that we were on lockdown, right? But the point is that it all happens together, and you see that in people's birth charts too, that the reason that somebody has something about them, you can see that from one planet, but you can also see it happen in all kinds of different ways in the chart. It's expressing itself. That's because it all works together. Our galaxy is a system, and our solar system is a system. So, and it has a mathematical relationship to each other. The movements of the different grahas and of Ketu and Rahu are obviously also in a mathematical relationship with one another, not just on their own timings, right? So Rahu gives you a personal, and now Rahu has moved into Aries, and that's super interesting. And Aries is what? Aries is the personal, the image, the physical image, the image of the self, and the self kind of exerting itself. And I will be talking, that is my first deep research note, is kind of dealing with that, about where I see something happening, an interesting thing happening. So with the crypto industry, I'm saying. But so you see what I'm saying? It gives you a sense of where our minds are. But Saturn, a planet like Saturn, is going to show how we are going to be managing our economies. Right? So they're both important, and they're both really important, and they play into each other. And then, for example, Ketu will show you also where people's minds will be, but it's kind of like showing you where people's minds are, but they're not where their minds are, but they're not really seeing things in a linear, rational way about that. For example, when Ketu was last in Scorpio, right? That was the last sign Ketu was transiting in. And that is why for example, crypto people got very much into making fast gains with these crazy coins, like meme coins and things. We got very much into that because that was Ketu in Scorpio. Scorpio is the natural 8th house of unexpected gains. Ketu is crazy. And also much more than that, is also spiritual and a very special, right? But is also crazy. So that's what happened with us with Ketu in Scorpio. And now Ketu is going to be in Libra, and that multiplicity of wanting to make like payments, but like in a very diversified way, of maybe in one app having the ability. That's why I think Backed is if you look at who is behind Backed, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, you can imagine. But that's why that kind of looked interesting to me, because Ketu in Libra is like we want to be able to kind of, maybe in one app be able to pay in all kinds of ways, or have some manner of paying, receiving payments, giving payments, but with lots of different payment methods in a totally non-linear way. You know, we don't want to just make payments with a credit card. We want to make, you know, and even like now we're having the rewards, Bitcoin rewards cards coming out, and I think that's just the beginning of Ketu and Libra. So I hope that this gives you some, you know, like the answer to the question is not like a very straightforward, because both things are important. And Saturn is more about how we're going to manage our economies, what's going to happen with the balance of the economy, you know, so they both go hand in hand, because I think like innovation happens in the context, in the Saturnian context. We're always in a Saturnian context, and innovation has to happen within that context. So right now Saturn is doing some very deep work into into a lot of things, but for example, rebalancing our economy, which got really kind of inflated out of control, also because of Saturn. And now Saturn is making us have to deal with that, have to deal with what was actually happening with the people, with business people, while the stock market was going up uncontrollably, what was actually happening with regular people, and what's actually happening with the economy of people, and how we are being affected by inflation. And at the same time, but a lot of people don't know that Saturn really likes cryptocurrency. I can guarantee you this because I've done a lot of research on this and I've been tracking this. Saturn likes cryptocurrency a lot. Saturn is going to make there's no escaping cryptocurrency, because Saturn likes cryptocurrency. Another thing that you will hopefully have noticed in the news is that a lot of economies that probably are, I don't want to swear right now, but like a lot of economies that probably the IMF is not favoring very well. A lot of those, like 44 countries went to El Salvador to meet about implementing Bitcoin, and I don't know about if it was in their reserves. And what was that? That was Saturn. Saturn represents countries that also have been, colonized, and countries that exactly, countries that have been colonized, or countries whose monetary system is still colonized. So you notice Saturn is creating a situation in which cryptocurrency is entering into the deepest level of our global society, and a huge, immense transformation is happening. This is Saturn. And then the way that we then create profitable systems is what? Is our inventiveness, which is going to be propelled in certain directions based on the placement of the nodes, Ketu and Rahu, but always working within that context. So this is a really long video, but I just thought that question was so interesting. So from somebody in Germany who also mentioned, for example, I think that this person mentioned that in Germany you have a special, like you don't pay tax on crypto at all, as long as you've held it for a year at all, I think, if I understood correctly. So you see, it's just, now this is all coming into, this is all then Jupiter. So Jupiter is more about our policies, right? Like the policies themselves, the direction that our policies are going to be taking. So Jupiter is the second most. So Saturn is the slowest moving of the planets that we use in Vedic astrology, and Jupiter is the second slowest. But then the nodes are the third slowest. So Saturn and Jupiter are really important in the big picture of things. But lastly, I will say Saturn and Jupiter are also important even on the day-to-day of how the markets move, because the moon, who is our mind, when the moon is in relation to either Saturn or Jupiter, that can move the market in huge ways, because when the moon is in a certain relationship with Saturn, usually that's going to make people feel a lot more serious or down to business, or reasonable, and kind of dealing with the reality of the situation as how we see it. Whereas Jupiter creates a huge amount of optimism. So it's not just that Saturn and Jupiter are immensely important because of their societal impact, but also because they do influence the mind in such a great way. The moon moves quickly, the quickest moving, of course, of our planets, of what we call planets, and right. So the markets themselves can move drastically based on the moon's relationship any given day to, or less than a day actually, to Saturn and Jupiter. Okay, bye.